Assalamu alaikum. Judging based on the title of my video, you're probably here to discover why I have reverted to Islam. I'm trying to minimize the amount I edit this video because I'm speaking without a script. It's very much raw. Like I haven't planned what I'm gonna say. I haven't planned anything because this is just something so personal. This is the niqab that's so unbreathable. It's kind of insane. So I don't know why I wore it today. Let's start from the very beginning. I don't have your usual questioning my faith and then reverting. It's not really a logical thing. I guess mine was more of a spiritual journey. So it's kind of insane to say, but at 13, I was very young when this happened. At 13 is when I had met a boy at the time. He was a very good friend of mine. And it's actually hilarious if he sees this video because, may Allah reward him because he's a very prominent factor of this story. At the time, I had him as a friend and we used to get into a lot of theological discussions. I was a Christian and I grew up as a Protestant Christian. My family was very strict. Romanian households, they don't play when it comes to religion. So I was very religious myself and I had this upbringing of being very spiritual as well. And obviously he was a Muslim and he had that upbringing as well. And, having the Bible, I've had the Bible read a few times, over and over. I went to school for it. I studied it. It was I took it seriously and my family did as well. However, my family didn't invest enough time properly. It was more so of a forced thing upon us, and I guess it was then normalized for us. One day I was like, how can I argue? Because when he used to ask me questions in order to have these theological debates, I wouldn't know how to argue against his religion solely because I didn't know it. So I was only arguing for my religion, clearing the misconceptions, etc., so that he could gain a better understanding of it. And it was the summer. It was May at the time, May or April, and I was like, let me order the Quran from Amazon and I'm gonna read it. And I've always been a reader. I love to read, and I don't want to say I matured at a young age because I don't think that's a flex. I really do not. But I lived a life. I was abused growing up, and I was left to fend for myself for a lot of the time. And I guess that's why I'm here to say that I did mature at a younger age. I had a better understanding of a lot more things. So at that age, it's crazy to say, but I would say I was more mature than your average 13-year-old, only because I had lived through experiences that I wish I never did. Anyway, I was like, okay, let me buy the Quran and I'll read it. And I'll just let you know what I don't like. I got myself into this, into this position, not because I had doubts of my religion. No, actually, I wanted to disprove this religion, which was Islam. For saying so, my Quran came. I was so scared my mom was going to open it, but she did, and then she was advising me against it, and I said, Mom, I'm just going to read it. It's nothing deep, but she was not happy, and knowing the things I went through, it's a bit personal now, maybe I'll open up to it later on, but my house wasn't really a safe place, so especially the talk of other religions as well, that was so sensitive in my house. So I would take the Quran and I would read it at this park near my house, and every time I wanted to read it I would walk to this park and in my bag I'd take it, and then I'd take it out and I would read, and I just started to cry. And so let's quickly go back and let me explain a bit more things about my Christian upbringing. So I had to I had to fend for a lot of the things myself, and when it comes to religion, I went solo on that. So I prayed a lot. I went through a lot. There was a lot of problems, a lot of instability, a lot of pain, physical, verbal, and mental, and I prayed a lot, and I wanted to strengthen my relationship with God because I've always been a firm believer of a higher power. I couldn't say I have ever been atheist because I could never. Even the times where I was so confused about everything, I could have never said I was an atheist. Always agnostic during that period of time because I always was a firm believer of a higher power. Anyway, I used to pray, and guys, I swear by Allah, when I used to pray as a Christian, I felt nothing, and I used to cry out of frustration because I felt nothing. And because I thought to myself, well, maybe I need to wait longer. Maybe this is a test. I waited a long time, by the way. I fasted. I gave up music, and I had on my phone alarms like every hour to 2 hours for a time for me to go pray. I was praying more than the average Muslim as a Christian. I prayed a lot, and I got nowhere with that. So now let's fast forward back to when I was crying at the park reading the Quran. I felt something for once. I felt like I was being spoken to, which I had never ever felt before. And it was like I felt a connection that I was yearning for so long. And it was like kind of like a relief. And I got really, really emotional. Anyway, I studied a lot. I began learning Arabic. I began learning. So there's the biography of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam called The Biography of the Prophet by Karen Armstrong. She's a Christian author, and I didn't want to read the biased point of views about Prophet Muhammad because to me that's nonsense. If I want to learn about something, I need to see the general opinion on it. I can't just see it from the Muslim perspective. That would have to come later on. So when I read that book, I fell in love with his character. I really liked it. It also dives into the history beforehand, the Crusades, the Spanish invasions, also the North African invasions, if I'm not mistaken, when the French came and invaded. And then I began learning some fatwas, some the sects and the madahibs that there were, the general consensus on things like the hijab. I just began familiarizing myself with the religion. And then there came a point where I said, I want to pray like these Muslims. Because you see, if I had felt something reading the Muslim book, I want to know what it feels like to pray like them. Will I feel something then as well? And subhanAllah, I feel like crying, guys. To think about these things. It was a very vulnerable point in my life at the time. But I had prayed Dhuhr Salah at the time, and I didn't have any praying clothes at the time. I had just my big joggers and I had a hoodie, and it was my big blue hoodie. And I put it on and I tied it here. And you know what's funny? I didn't pray in Arabic, so I had memorized Al-Fatiha and the way of praying, the structure of the Salah, but not in Arabic, in English, because at the time I didn't know you had to do it in Arabic. So I had it all memorized in English. I had everything, because I remember at the time I was studying it. So I had studied the way that these Muslims would pray. And I prayed and I cried. Guys, I can't begin to tell you the feelings and the emotions that came with that period of time in my life. The clarifications I got. Okay, cool. I felt something praying Salah. Okay, so after some time, some thinking, I came to the conclusion, I want to convert. And I did my shahada. I did. I done it online because there was COVID at the time. I done it online. I was so scared for my... should I tell you guys what happened when I reverted? Okay, cool. So when they found out, my family found out I became a Muslim. So my family has never been one for emotional connection like that. So we were kind of very neglected. I've never had a proper relationship with them. It's very neglectful. And I don't know why I thought this was a perfect time to go tell my mum. I was 14 when I accepted Islam, by the way. I was 14, I didn't mention that. I go downstairs, my mum's making food. And I go to my mum, I'm going to accept Islam. I was kind of hoping that she would talk to me. And I thought she would understand. But no, she beat me. Guys, wallahi, she broke my bone that day. She beat me. She broke my bone. And she wouldn't drive me to the hospital. She strangled me, she punched me, she done everything. She wouldn't drive me to the hospital after. So that was the starting point of everything. So then that's when I knew, okay, so it's going to be very hard in this house as a Muslim. So all of my hijabs I bought in secrecy. I started my first ever TikTok at the time, which got deleted the year after. But I got a good following on that, and I went viral at one point. I don't know if you guys remember. I think it was your secret Romanian revert, something like this. That was me. Hello. Um. Anyway, yeah. So Ramadan was a bit hard. They were trying to make me eat. I had to leave the house. They would try and bang on my door when I was praying. My dad used to force himself. I used to have to cry to tell him to stop. It was painful, but it's kind of funny as well, because those times was when my iman was the best. And I kind of wish I could live that again, to experience that level of iman. I'm not saying I don't have iman now. I do, but when a believer is put through a test like that, and they grasp and they hold so hard onto their faith, that's such a strong level of iman that I have never felt since then. It was so unbelievably strong. It was so amazing. It was so pure. It was such a nice kind of, it was one of the best feelings. And I always think about it. I had I had an operation at the time. I had my meniscus. I had done a lot of sports at the time, and my meniscus got torn. And I was at the hospital right after my surgery. It was either Dhuhr or Asr time. I don't remember. And I got up when my dad left. I don't know. I think he went to get food. I'm not sure what he done. Imagine you're freshly cut. You're freshly cut from the operation room, and you get up. I don't know how I put my praying clothes on. I don't. That is like a blur to me. But what I do know is that I put a chair towards, so that because I had to pray on a chair, and I put it towards the Qibla, and I just began praying. And yeah, that level, that time in my life, it went past so fast, and it was traumatic, but it was one of the best times of my life, and the best times for me to be a Muslim as well. I really felt my iman at the time. And then at one point, I'm gonna stop here actually. I don't want to say any more, but I forgot to mention something actually. When you revert from one religion that you were so close to, and in my case that was Christianity, and you leave it for another, that is such a big change, and it's so hard psychologically. It is so hard, because I was met with, what if I go to hell? What if it's not the right religion? What have I done? Did I make a mistake? It's a constant battle, subhanAllah, and I feel for these reverts who went through what I went through. And I guess I would make dua, and there were specific du'as that I made, and then they came to be. And I'm going to tell you guys something. There was one time where I was praying, and I said, Allah, give me a sign, guide me to the truth, whatever religion that may be, guide me, It was a very low point of time in my iman. Because, when you, like I told you, the separation of one religion you were binded to for so long, and then you go to another, it's very hard. And I made this dua, and I opened my Quran. Guys, the ayah I came to was something along the lines of, let me remember. Something along the lines of, because at the time the pagans used to give Allah attributes, partners to Allah, and they used to say that Allah's angels were His daughters. Something like this. Allahu alamin, astaghfirullah if I got it wrong, but an ayah like this. And he said, indeed, we have given them these signs in the Quran, and yet it pushes them further away. And I kept asking for signs, and I had made a prayer at that time right before I opened the Quran to give me a sign, and then I opened that. And I just want, this is one piece of advice I have for you guys who have low iman. When you ask and you make dua to Allah because you're in this state of low iman, when you ask for your signs, ask to be given the wisdom to notice these signs. Because a lot of people, they will pray for these signs, they will pray for one and the other, and then when they are met with something that could be considered a sign, they ignore it. It's like as if they never saw it. When you make your du'as, ask Allah to give you the wisdom to be able to see these signs, to acknowledge that these are signs from Allah. This is, I guess, the beginning of the timeline. Today I was meant to make falafel and I did not. Instead I made this, but I do hope you guys enjoyed listening, and feel free to share your experiences too. It'd be very interesting to hear this. So assalamu alaikum.